Hello everyone and welcome to another video here on Sam's Crafted Castle, and today we are going to be exploring the new Gina Designs Poly-Glaze foiling sheets. These are really similar to the thermal foil made, like the ones that have the black printing on them, but the Poly-Glaze ones are a little bit different because they aren't printed in black like the others. They're printed in this super light color, which is great if you don't get a perfect foil because of the color being so light you can't notice. And the lines on these are pretty delicate, so you kind of don't notice just because of how thin the lines are as well. And I've only not gotten a perfect foil a few times with these, and it ended up being because of something I was doing, which I will tell you in this video, but I'm going to talk about it more in a couple weeks in a different video, because that's when I figured out that what was going on. I just can't share that video yet because the person, the card that's going to, watches this channel, and I don't want them to see it before they get it. So that's why. So you're going to use the Poly-Glaze the same way that you use the other black toner printed sheets. You can use your Mink, you can use a different laminator if you don't have a Mink or if a Mink's not in your budget. But if you think foiling is something you're really going to get into, I would try to save up for a Mink because the Mink is actually made for foiling, where another laminator you might have to play around with it a little bit to get it to work. So what you do is you take your carrier sheet or your plastic folder, and then you can take your foil, which I'm using some pink foil for this card, and you lay it with the pretty side up, which if you're a hot foil person with the hot foil plates and the hot foil machines, it's the opposite of what you do with the hot foil. And remember that this is also the transfer foils from Deco foil. I do not know if anywhere else has transfer foils, and I could be wrong, so let me know in the comments if you know of anyone else besides Deco foil that make foil that works with the toner printed sheets or the transfer foils. Lots of places have the hot foils now. Deco foil even just launched their line of hot foils recently that work with the plates, but if you're using the Poly-Glaze sheets or you're using any of the other toner printed sheets out there, make sure you buy the right foil. I've seen a lot of people on the internet struggle with these because they have the wrong foil. So you want the transfer foil. So you put the foil down and then you run it through your machine of choice, and you're going to see me run mine through multiple times, and that's because I was making kind of a big mistake. So very long story short, basically I was pulling my carrier sheet through my machine and I shouldn't have been. You gotta kind of just let the machine do the work for you, and I didn't even realize that I was doing this. And all of a sudden, after a long time of foiling and getting great results, all of a sudden I started to get really weird and splotchy areas a lot more than I normally did. Only to discover just a few weeks ago that it was because I had somewhere along the line started pulling the foil out of the machine, and that's just a bad habit and I need to break it. So just a reminder, and like I said, we'll talk more about this in a couple weeks, but just don't let the machine do the work. The machine knows what it's doing, so just trust it. Now we're getting into more of the card assembly part. I'm using the Gina Designs heart circle die to cut all of these, not all of the background pieces, to cut this background piece. I actually foiled 2 of these because I was going to need 2 of them for my project. I had seen online in Gina's group that somebody had asked about using the Poly-Glaze backgrounds for a 5x7 card, or a larger card in general, or a square card, because all of the backgrounds, which I don't think I mentioned this earlier, are roughly A2 size. So they're A2 size panels. The actual backgrounds are slightly smaller. And if I'm remembering correctly, I do think they cut out perfectly with one of the Master Layouts 2 die sets. One of the rectangles in there, but it could be Master Layouts 1. I actually do not have those die sets, so just a little bit embarrassing to admit, but I don't have them, so I'm not for sure which one cuts it out, but it's one of those 2. But basically, the point of this is to use them on a 5x7 card. You just treat them like pattern paper. So I went on Pinterest and I found a card sketch, which I need to be better about remembering that to save them so that I can share them in the videos, and that can be a goal for the next few months when I do card sketches, to make sure I share them. But you can always find them linked on my Pinterest page too, which there should be a link in the description down below to that if you want to check that out. Although it's really outdated, but that's not important. So basically, yeah, that's that. I'm just using it like pattern paper at this point. So I've just ink blended some lemon drop over it because I was going for this pink, gray, yellow situation. Somehow I'm still behind on birthday cards. I don't really understand why I cannot catch up. It seems like they go out as fast as I make them lately, but that's okay, because it just means I get to make more, right? So we're okay with this. So I'm going to use the Gina K Designs Frame Flora Stamp Set. Now there's good news and bad news about this one. It is actually currently on, at the time I'm filming this, it's on clearance at Gina K Designs, which is good because it means it's on sale, and who doesn't like a sale? But it's bad because I don't know if there's any left. If there is, there'll be a link down below. If not, maybe I'll just link to the clearance section. But honestly, you can make something similar. Or maybe you already have this stamp set. It wasn't a kit. It was in a kit. I think it was Luck and Love last year, or maybe even 2 years ago now. But it wasn't a kit, so maybe you already have it. I'm stamping that with Lucky Clover, which is my favorite, actually it's my second favorite Gina K Designs green. My first favorite is Christmas Pine, but we're not going Christmas right now, we're doing spring, and Lucky Clover is the better spring color, spring green, I think, personally. So I'm just stamping that on some wet cardstock, and I'm going to not take Gina's advice, which is never a good idea, honestly. But I didn't do it, and I did not make a template for this, but I still figured it out, and actually, for my kind of horrible die cutting skills, it actually cut out pretty well, and I'm kind of proud of myself. And now I have, you'll see in a minute, I have to stamp the greeting first, an innocent pink, and it's just a birthday greeting from the same stamp set. I didn't wander far with this one. I was trying to focus on the Poly-Glaze, so I didn't wander much away with the stamp sets this time. And I'm going to cut it out with a die in a second here. And I did it off screen because this die was kind of hard to line up. But here we go. So I cut it out and successfully, and I was very proud of myself because, like I said, I'm not always the best at cutting out stamp sets. But now I have this extra piece of paper with the negative of the die. So all I'm doing is I'm writing Frame Flora die template on the piece of paper, and I will store that with my stamp set, and now I have a die template for it, so next time I go to die cut this, it's there and I can use it. Or you can always put the template in, put your die in, and use your Misty. I've seen Jennifer do it, and she's going to do it way better than I can. But it's definitely on there as a list of things that I need to try to do, and I'm just very bad at it. But basically, that's the end of this video, honestly. I'm just going to put some stuff together. It felt like, because it is a bigger card. Oh, also, this is an A2 card sketch that I turned into a 5x7 card. I just elongated the pieces and picked a bigger circle. And, like, I made the rectangle longer, and I made the circle, or I found a circle die that was a little bit bigger than maybe this sketch would have required on an A2 card, and I used a stamp that was bigger, and took up more space. So definitely, I am usually an A2 card maker through and through, but every once in a while, I like to venture into the world of 5x7s and slimlines. A2 and mini slims are like my happy place, but every once in a while I get brave and venture into a 5x7 or a regular sized slimline card. And I was feeling brave and challenged by this person in the Facebook group whose name I should have written down, but I didn't. And I was feeling, so I used the Poly-Glaze to make a 5x7 card. So honestly, I'm just rambling at this point. You got these, tape runners, and then foam tape. I foam squared up. This is me deciding I want to foam square up the flowers. I foam squared up the flowers, and then I foam taped up the actual card base. So honestly, I think I'm gonna leave you here. I think we're done. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below, and I will see you again soon. Have a crafty day.